What's everyone talking about today? Everyone's talking about a comment Joe Biden made to some donors. What was the comment? He said, and I quote, "If Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I would be." It's an interesting quote, isn't it? If Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I would be. Wonder what he meant by that. Anyway, be prepared for the next day Joe Biden walk back.
Would you be running for president if Trump wasn't running?
I expect so, but look, he is running, and I have to run.
Would you drop out if Trump does
No, not now.
Yeah. Okay. So what's he talking about? If he's running, I have to run. Well, I need to explain something. Idols. Have you ever? Just pause. I'll come back to the politics in a moment. I'm going somewhere with this. You read any history books? Maybe you read the Bible or something like that. Isn't it almost odd how often mankind, this is just something men do, they will create something, an idol, and they will worship it. Or they'll pour hatred out on it, depending on what you're doing. But they'll build a statue themselves of rocks and say, look, that's a god, I'll worship it. Isn't that so odd? But it is the inclination of man. Now, what am I bringing this up for? What does any of this have to do with anything? Well, it will help all of us understand how the American communist operates when you understand the American communist creates idols. He's very, very good at this. He creates idols to worship. He creates idols you can throw tomatoes at. And he can do this at the drop of a hat, and he's mastered this. So what does that mean? What kind of idols do they worship? Well, it always changes, right? You remember, it was the COVID vaccine for a while. How many examples could I play for you right now? Oh my gosh, the vaccine. It was bizarre. I don't care if you're sitting there quadruple vaxxed watching it. You have to admit it was creepy and bizarre. Free cheeseburgers, free donuts, get the vax and we'll fire you. It's crazy. They moved right on from there. It was St. George Floyd. Some dirtball no one's ever heard of before has a statue in New York City. He had more funerals than the freaking Queen of England when she died. Creating an idol. Hey, here's George. Worship him. Are you a racist? Worship him. They get more money and power when they get you focused on that. Then it was Ukraine. You understand how it goes. It works the same way with people they want you to hate, with ideas they want you to hate. And it's not necessarily always about the person or the idea itself. They're just creating an idol. That's what Donald Trump has become for Democrats. They've spent years creating this idol for everyone to throw tomatoes at. That's why everything they've succeeded in making the American people hate its guts. That's why they label everything MAGA, everything that their opponent does. Donald Trump can have nothing to do with it, and oftentimes doesn't. Oh, MAGA Republicans and MAGA this and MAGA extreme and MAGA. Why did they do that? Well, they've created this idol. Look at Trump, hate Trump. So back to what Joe Biden was talking about. I have to run. Here's the truth. It doesn't matter your thoughts on Trump. It doesn't. Whether you're a Trump super fan or you hate his guts, none of that matters for what we're talking about here. What matters is this. They have created this devil, this idol, and they have made him the ultimate devil. He's Nazi, he's Hitler, he's all these things. Why do they do that? You already know why they do the George Floyd stuff, but why the devil? Why the devil? When you create the devil in somebody's mind, here he is, here's the devil, here's the source of all your problems, MAGA this, Trump this, MAGA that. This is what will allow them to do, what it allows them to do is the most despicable things in the world, the most tyrannical, evil, oftentimes violent things in the world. All of those things are justified to defeat the devil. Hey, man, we got to do this. We got to defeat the devil. Shouldn't we defeat the devil? That's what creating these idols does for them. They're very, very, very successful at it. What you heard from Joe Biden there, that's all he was doing. It's really all he was doing. Well, I have to run if Trump's running. Joe Biden has been programmed by the hive mind like the rest of them. He's trained to answer questions like that. Hey, I wouldn't even run. I'd just go retire on the beach in Delaware and spend my Chi-Com money if it wasn't for Donald Trump. But since he's the source of all evil, I have no choice but to run. Whether or not Joe Biden will actually run, I don't know. I doubt it. You've heard me predict for you 1,000 times on this show that I believe they'll kick him out. When they do that, I don't know. And it is getting late. I don't know. Look, what I do know is the Republicans aren't going to do it. Look, Republicans came out yesterday with a whole new list of evidence of this and Biden corruption here, and we have direct payments from this guy and this guy and this guy. And of course, Joe Biden lied about the whole thing.
There's polling by the Associated Press that shows that almost 70% of Americans, including 40% of Democrats, believe that you acted either illegally or unethically in regards to your family's business interests. Can you explain to the Americans amid this impeachment inquiry why you interacted with so many of your son and brother's foreign business associates?
I'm not going to comment on that. I did not, and it was just a bunch of lies.
You didn't interact with many of their business associates?
I did not. There's lies.
Not exactly the most convincing thing in the world. So about this impeachment inquiry, let's talk about that. Mike Johnson said it's coming next week.
So we have come to this sort of inflection point because, Chad, right now the White House is stonewalling that investigation. They're refusing to turn over key witnesses to allow them to testify as they've been subpoenaed. They're refusing to turn over thousands of documents for the National Archives. And the House has no choice, if it's going to follow its constitutional responsibility, to formally adopt an impeachment inquiry on the floor so that when the subpoenas are challenged in court, we'll be at the apex of our constitutional authority. It will be a movement of a vote of the full House, and that will allow us to continue and continue on pace. This vote is not a vote to impeach President Biden. This is a vote to continue the inquiry of impeachment.
My watch tells me it's December 6th. That can't be right. Let me check my phone. December 6th. We're finally getting to an impeachment inquiry next week. But what's the latest and greatest news? You know the Republicans had a 4-seat majority, right? They had a 4-seat majority. And then they themselves voted to remove George Santos from Congress, so he's gone. Now it's a 3-seat majority. Republican Congressman of New York, Bill Johnson, announced he's retiring, so now it's a 2-seat majority. And the news of the day today was former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, announced he's retiring at the end of the month. So now it's a 1-seat majority. So just to make sure I simplify this so we can all understand, the Republicans are going to finally get around to trying to impeach Joe Biden after they've somehow managed to reduce their own majority to the slimmest margin possible. If that isn't the most GOP thing in the history of GOP things, and if all that made you uncomfortable, I'm sorry, but I'm right.